Hi, how's everybody doing today? I think what we're seeing is not corruption. I think it's just we're watching the system work the way the system works. And our expectations of the system are not congruent with reality of how the system works. So that happens in family law as well, where people have expectations of how the family court should work, and those don't necessarily match the reality of how the family court should work. So there's just so much discretion built into the judicial system. We are watching that real time. The Maricopa County's Attorney's Office knows that they're going to be under scrutiny. They likely knew there was going to be backlash to this decision. And we don't know what their protocols are or what their policies are for when they move forward with prosecutions and when they don't. We don't know if the juvenile that was questioned and they decided not to move forward, we don't know if he was read Miranda rights, we don't know if he asked for his parents to be present or if they set it up in advance. We just don't know. But if we take Rick Keener's child's assault as an example, we see how discretion at every single point has a cumulative effect. When police use their discretion not to make an arrest or not to believe a victim, when prosecutors use their discretion not to move forward with prosecuting, it affects victims. My DMs are full of victims who have been let down by their expectations of the justice system. I don't think that there is a way, we can't force the attorney's office or anybody, a prosecutor to prosecute. We can't. Or not to take a plea. There is a victim's bill of rights. Victims do have certain rights. I'll put them up here. But that's one of the reasons the civil justice is so cool, and I think it's been underutilized in these violent crimes. Because in the civil justice system, you, the victim, get to sue personally, and you, the victim, decide when and if to settle. You have complete control over whether to bring a case forward and what terms to settle on. You get your day in court, you get to go in front of a jury. The other reason I think it's underutilized is if there is enough economic impact, perhaps that will make a difference in the overall safety of society. Here's an example. Some of the people who have reached out to me, their children have been the victims of gun violence, and they've not sued the parents of the perpetrators or the people who were involved with the gun violence. But if they did, and if enough people were held responsible for negligent gun ownership, and if insurance companies, homeowners insurance companies, had to pay out enough, then maybe homeowners insurance policies might start requiring people to make better decisions with guns, like keep guns in safes, or I'm just throwing out a hypothetical example. If schools are sued for failing to provide a safe learning environment, and they're held accountable for failing to provide a safe learning environment, then maybe they're going to make safer learning environments. Maybe they'll have different policies, different education. It doesn't help victims today, except that they might get monetary compensation. But the bigger impact of those lawsuits might be societal changes. I interviewed Rick Lyons yesterday for my podcast it'll air in probably the next week or 2 weeks, and it was really good to learn from him, where liability lies for police, for schools. The school's liable for failing to provide a safe learning environment, not for failing to discipline the students that sent the death threats, not for the assault that happened to In-N-Out, but for failing to provide a safe learning environment. That's what they can be liable for. Cops cannot be held liable for failing to investigate crimes. They can only be held liable for violating individual civil rights. That's it. As uncomfortable as the concept of white privilege makes people, and I know people are going to be like, you lost me there, don't talk about that. Like, if we're honest, that's what we're seeing. The cumulative impacts of discretion that happen from individuals. It's not one individual. It's not one institution. It's all of them. It's all of them. It's schools. It's cops. It's prosecutors.